The studio lights blazed down on the set of The View, where Joy Behar sat with her co-hosts, smirking confidently as she prepared her ambush on the day's guest, Matthew McConaughey, the Oscar-winning actor known for his laid-back charm and philosophical musings. Joy had been plotting this for weeks, ever since Matthew's latest interview where he casually dismissed certain progressive ideologies as Hollywood fluff, which had ruffled feathers in her circle. She leaned forward, her eyes sharp like daggers, ready to spring her trap during the live broadcast, with millions watching. "So, Matthew," she began, her voice dripping with faux sweetness, "you've been out there preaching about personal responsibility and living true to yourself, but isn't that just code for ignoring systemic issues like climate change or inequality? Come on, admit you're just another privileged white guy peddling feel-good nonsense to avoid real accountability." The audience murmured, some clapping in agreement, as Joy crossed her arms, expecting him to score more backpedal like so many celebrities before him. But Matthew, lounging in his chair with a signature Texas drawl and easy smile, didn't flinch. Instead, he adjusted his sunglasses perched on his head and let out a low chuckle that echoed through the studio. "Joy, darlin', I appreciate the setup. It's a classic got the moment, ain't it? But let's unpack this savage little trap you've laid out. You see, personal responsibility isn't about ignoring problems, it's the foundation for fixing them. I've planted trees in the Amazon, funded clean water projects in Africa, and yeah, I've got privilege, but I use it to lift others up, not tear them down with gotcha journalism." The crowd shifted, some nodding as Matthew's words landed like smooth punches. Joy's face tightened, her plan already showing cracks as she interrupted, "Oh please, that's just performative activism. What about your support for gun rights? That's not responsibly, that's dangerous." Matthew leaned in closer, his green eyes locking onto hers with an intensity that made the air thick. "Dangerous, Joy? What's dangerous is folks like you twisting facts to fit narratives. I support the Second Amendment because I believe in freedom, but I've also advocated for background checks and mental health funding. You want to talk real issues? Let's discuss how media like this show divides us instead of uniting. Your savage trap just backfired because truth doesn't bend to ambushes." The co-hosts exchanged glances, Whoopi Goldberg trying to mediate, but Matthew was on a roll, dismantling Joy's points one by one with calm logic and southern wit. He recounted stories from his life, from growing up in Uvalde to his work with at-risk youth, painting a picture of a man who walked the talk, not just talked it. Joy stammered, her retorts growing weaker as the audience began to applaud Matthew's responses, the energy shifting palpably against her. "You think you are destroying me?" she snapped, but her voice cracked slightly, revealing the trap's failure. Matthew smiled wider. "Nah, Joy, I'm just conversing. Destruction comes from within when traps are built on sand." As the segment continued, Matthew delved deeper into philosophy, quoting Marcus Aurelius and tying it to modern politics, leaving Joy scrambling to regain control. The live chat exploded online, with viewers praising Matthew's poise and calling out Joy's aggression. By the commercial break, Joy's face was flushed, her savage plan in ruins, as Matthew casually sipped his water, unscathed and victorious in the verbal arena. Coming back from the break, the tension hung heavy in the air like a Texas thunderstorm, with Joy Behar attempting to regroup, her co-hosts offering supportive nods but clearly sensing the shift in momentum toward Matthew McConaughey, who sat there exuding an aura of unflappable coolness that only amplified his star power. Joy cleared her throat, forcing a smile that didn't reach her eyes, and launched into round two of her offensive, this time pivoting to Matthew's rumored political ambitions. "All right, Matthew, let's get real. Rumors are swirling about you running for office, but with your all right attitude, how can anyone take you seriously on serious issues like women's rights or education reform? Isn't it just another celebrity vanity project?" The audience leaned in, expecting fireworks, but Matthew tilted his head thoughtfully, stroking his beard before responding with a measured tone that cut through the noise. "Vanity, Joy? If wanting to serve my country is vanity, then sign me up for the Hall of Mirrors. But let's flip this strap on its head. Why do you assume celebrities can't contribute meaningfully? I've studied policy, met with experts, and yeah, I've got that catchphrase, but it's rooted in authenticity, something politics desperately needs. Joy rolled her eyes, interjecting with, "Authenticity? Like your movies where you play heroes? Real life isn't a script." But Matthew was ready, his voice rising just enough to command the room without shouting. "Exactly, Joy, a life ain't a script, but your questions feel scripted to provoke, not enlighten. On women's rights, I've supported equal pay initiatives and marched for reproductive freedoms. Education, I've funded scholarships for underprivileged kids in my foundation. Your trap assumes I'm shallow, but that's your projection, not my reality." The back and forth intensified, with Matthew weaving in anecdotes from his travels, like witnessing inequality in third world countries and how it shaped his views, making Joy's attacks seem petty and uninformed. Sunny Hostin tried to jump in, but Matthew politely deferred, keeping the focus on dismantling Joy's narrative brick by brick. "You see, the savage part of your trap is the assumption that disagreement equals destruction, but dialogue builds bridges," he said, earning cheers from the crowd. Joy's frustration mounted, her replies turning snippier as she accused him of dodging, but each time, Matthew circled back with facts and empathy, turning her barbs into boomerangs. Online, Twitter lit up with memes of Matthew's calm demeanor versus Joy's escalating agitation. Hashtags like #McConaughey destroys trending worldwide. As the segment dragged on, Joy's co-hosts began to side more with Matthew subtly, asking him follow-ups that highlighted his points, further isolating her. Matthew, sensing the victory, lightened the mood with a joke about his rom-com days, diffusing tension while underscoring his humanity. "Joy, we could all use a little more alright in our live SLS traps, more truths." By the end of this exchange, Joy sat back, defeated, her savage ambush not only backfiring but exploding in her face, as Matthew emerged as the thoughtful powerhouse, leaving the audience and viewers at home re-evaluating their preconceptions. As the show progressed into its next phase, Joy Behar, still smarting from the previous rounds, decided to double down on her strategy, shifting the conversation to environmental issues, where she believed she had the moral high ground against Matthew McConaughey's Texas roots in oil country. "Matthew, you talk a big game about the planet, but coming from a state built on fossil fuels, how do you reconcile your Lincoln ads with real climate action? Isn't it hypocritical?" She probed, her tone laced with accusation, hoping to catch him off guard and reclaim the narrative. The studio audience held its breath, but Matthew, ever the philosopher-actor, paused dramatically before unleashing a torrent of well-researched rebuttals. "Hypocritical? Joy, life's full of nuance. I'm from Texas, sure, but I've invested in renewable energy startups and advocated for transition plans that don't leave workers behind. Your trap ignores the human element. It's easy to preach from a New York studio, but out in the fields, folks need jobs too." Joy fired back, "Jobs? At what cost to the planet? You're just greenwashing." But Matthew countered swiftly, citing specific initiatives like his partnership with solar companies and carbon offset programs tied to his film productions. "Greenwashing? Nah, that's when words don't match actions and mine do. Let's talk about your show's sponsors. How many are eco-friendly?" The jab landed, causing Joy to falter as the audience gasped. He continued, expanding on broader themes of unity over division, drawing from his book Green Lights to illustrate how setbacks like her traps could lead to breakthroughs. Co-host Anna Navarro attempted to stir, but Matthew's charisma dominated, turning the discussion into a masterclass on balanced activism. Joy's attempts to interrupt grew frantic, her voice rising as she accused him of mansplaining, but Matthew diffused it with humor. "Mansplaining? I'm just explaining. Joy, no gender required." Laughter erupted, further eroding her position. Social media buzzed with clips of the exchange, viewers hailing Matthew as a voice of reason amid polarized debates. He delved into personal stories, like hurricane relief efforts in his hometown, humanizing his stance and making Joy's attacks seem impersonal and scripted. As minutes ticked by, Joy's co-hosts distanced themselves, praising Matthew's insights, which only amplified her isolation. "Your savage trap backfired because it was built on stereotypes, not substance," Matthew concluded softly, his words hanging like a final blow. The segment wrapped with applause for him, Joy's face a mask of forced composure, her plan in tatters as Matthew's destruction was complete through intellect and grace, not aggression. Undeterred but visibly shaken, Joy Behar pivoted once more in the live broadcast, this time targeting Matthew McConaughey's personal life and philosophy, aiming to portray him as out-of-touch elitist in front of the cameras. "Matthew, your whole just keep livin' mantra sounds great, but for everyday people struggling with inflation and healthcare, isn't it just privileged escapism? How does that help anyone?" she challenged, her eyes narrowing as if to pierce through his calm facade. The set grew quieter, anticipating his response, but Matthew leaned back, a knowing grin spreading across his face. "Escapism, Joy, just keep livin' is about resilience in the face of hardship. It's what got me through my own struggles, from humble beginnings to Hollywood. Your trap assumes privilege blinds me, but it's sharpened my empathy," he elaborated, sharing raw stories of his father's death and early career rejections, connecting them to universal themes of perseverance that resonated deeply with the audience. Joy countered, "Resilience? That's easy when you're worth millions." But Matthew was unfazed. "Millions I earned through hard work, and I've given back through foundations aiding mental health and education." "What's your resilience story, Joy?" Trapping guests for ratings? The directness stunned her, the audience murmuring in surprise as co-host Sarah Haynes chuckled nervously. Matthew expanded, critiquing media sensationalism and how shows like The View often prioritize conflict over solutions, using examples from current events to bolster his argument. Joy's replies became defensive, accusing him of deflection, but each point he made circled back to expose the flaws in her approach. Online forums exploded with support for Matthew, clips going viral as he masterfully turned the tables. He invoked thinkers like Aristotle and modern psychologists to underpin his philosophy, making complex ideas accessible and leaving Joy grasping for rebuttals. As the exchange heated, Matthew maintained composure, his southern drawl soothing yet slicing through her barbs. "The backfire here, Joy, is that your savage intent revealed more about division than unity," he noted, earning nods from even her co-hosts. By the segment's close, Joy sat silently fuming. Her trap not only failed but reversed, with Matthew's destruction evident in the shifted audience allegiance and his unchallenged dominance in the debate. With time running short on the live episode, Joy Behar made a final desperate push against Matthew McConaughey, circling back to cultural issues in a bid to salvage her position and land a knockout blow. "Okay, Matthew, let's talk cancel culture. You've dodged it so far, but isn't your free speech stance just a shield for problematic views? In today's world, words have consequences," she declared, her voice rising with renewed vigor, expecting to corner him at last. The lights seemed brighter, the stakes higher, but Matthew met her gaze steadily, his response measured and profound. "Consequences? Absolutely, Joy, but so does silencing voices. My stance is on open dialogue, not shields. Your trap equates disagreement with danger, but that's the real problem." He dove into examples from history, like civil rights movements thriving on free expression, tying it to contemporary debates and his own experiences with backlash. Joy interrupted, "Dialogue, like your controversial COVID comments?" But Matthew clarified, "I questioned mandates, not science. He advocated for choice with responsibility. Facts over fear, Joy." The audience applauded, sensing her weakening grip as he dismantled her points with evidence from studies and personal anecdotes. Co-host Alyssa Farrah-Griffin nodded in agreement, further undermining Joy's isolation. Matthew broadened the discussion to media responsibility, critiquing how outlets amplify outrage for views, using The View as a gentle example without malice. Joy's face reddened, her retorts turning personal, but Matthew redirected with empathy. "We're all human, Joy. Traps stem from passion, but let's channel it positively." Social media crowned him the winner, with analyzes praising his tactical brilliance. As the clock ticked, he wrapped with a call for unity, leaving Joy speechless. Her savage trap had utterly backfired, destroyed by Matthew's intellectual prowess and charm, cementing his live triumph. In the waning moments of the broadcast, as the credits loomed, Joy Behar sat in stunned silence while Matthew McConaughey delivered a parting soliloquy that sealed his victory, reflecting on the entire exchange with wisdom that transcended the confrontation. "Joy, "This wasn't about destruction, it's about growth. Your trap backfired because truth prevails when we listen," he said softly, the studio falling quiet under his spell. He expanded on themes of American unity, drawing from his potential political future to inspire hope amid division, sharing visions of a balanced society where personal freedom and collective good coexist. The audience rose in ovation, co-hosts clapping along as Joy forced a nod, her defeat palpable. Online, the video amassed millions of views, dissecting how Matthew's calm evisceration exposed media biases. He concluded with gratitude, thanking Joy for the platform, turning her ambush into a teachable moment. As the show ended, Matthew stood tall, unscathed, while Joy's savage plan lay in ruins, backfired spectacularly in the live arena.